Welcome or welcome back to the Alchemical Life Podcast. What's up, you guys? This is Abigail Crow speaking. I'm your host. I'm also a personal trainer, coach, whatever you want to call me. I train Gen Pop athletes, specialize in endurance runners, and I am an endurance runner myself who loves to lift, and I really just enjoy watching people get better, stronger, faster, forever. So that's what I'm into. That being said, it has been so long since I've hopped on here to record an episode. You guys have gotten consistent episodes, but I pre-recorded those. I have been traveling and doing stuff. Last week there was no episode. I feel rusty, rusty, rusty. So today I thought I would just get in and talk about speed training and mile training in particular, because that is what I've been doing. And also a little bit of heat training, because that is what I've been doing. A lot of heat training, not by choice. It's because I live in Florida and it is so freaking hot. I also have been in Austin, Texas. Not any cooler there. So there's that. And also, I just think that a lot of people get a little bit confused about speed training and intimidated by speed training and are worried about getting hurt speed training. So I just want to talk about my personal experience with it, some things that I've learned, and the race that I'm prepping for. So we'll get right into it. We'll keep this episode pretty simple and just have like a little chit chat. Let's just talk about training. Let's just talk about speed training, what I'm doing, what's going on, and see if I can help you guys with anything. Okay, so I am training currently for the mile. So when it comes to speed training, I think that there's a lot of different definitions people can use when they describe speed training. Does this mean like max velocity? Are we talking about, more 400 meters? Are we talking 100, 200? Like where is speed training coming into play? And I think in the endurance realm, speed training is often used to help people really improve anywhere from like maybe the 800 meter to the 5K. And I think that speed training can help and it can help people who are even training for things like half marathons, marathons, ultras, um, just because of the benefits that it provides. But a lot of the time, I would say when people are doing speed work or doing more than one quality session worth of speed work during their week, it's because they're training for something shorter distance. I am currently training for the mile. My mile race is in August. It's August 9th. It's called the Breakfast at the Track Mile. And I wanted to do it because I think I wanted to harness a little bit more of that speed and power that I have from my lifting experience, like my lifting background, and also my background running track and just some of the various activities that I've done, even training jujitsu, doing the Spartans that I've done, just doing the conditioning that I've done for fun in my free time. It's a little bit more hit style. It's been a little bit more, it's been less long duration and more just fast, plyometric in nature, quick, powerful, that kind of thing. So I I think that for me it was just like, well, also the race was coming up, and having some speed as I go and back into 5K training or half marathon training is nice, because speed training is not fun at all. And to be honest, as much as I complain about speed training in the heat, which I will get into heat training, I really couldn't imagine doing a bunch of long runs or training for a half marathon in this heat. It would be miserable. I like that I can keep my sessions, no more than an hour, really about a half hour in terms of actual efforts, and be done. So what do some of my workouts look like? Well, this is how my week is scheduled out, and then I'll go into kind of what I've learned from speed training and what I found being super effective, or the most effective for my speed sessions. I want to shout out first Gary Droz. He's the run coach that does all of our quality sessions at the track, and he's been helping me with a lot of my run programming. Also, shout out to like all of my running friends who've been helping me with my run programming or showing up and doing the sessions with me. Seriously, would like doing them by yourself is horrible. It's the worst thing ever. So shout out Gary Droz. He does a lot of the run programming, but this is how my week is structured. Monday is usually a rest day. I always think that I'm going to want to do easy miles on Monday, and I never do. And I just end up not doing any kind of training session on Monday because I usually need the rest. Tuesday is when I have my high intensity day. So I will do a quality session, speed work, a little bit more 5K speed work focused at the track on Tuesday. And I will also do a lower body session a few hours later that day. I'm switching over to full body 3 times a week now, just because I found that those lower body sessions, although they're so fun and I love doing just lower body sessions, it's just too much for at once. I cannot. I'm always going into my sessions sore now, and so I'm doing 3 full body days a week. So I'm switching back out to that. So I've been doing lower body. I'm going back to full body on Tuesdays. Wednesdays is my easy miles days. That's usually when I actually do my easy miles. Anywhere from 4 to 6 miles. Oftentimes, I'm kind of averaging that 5, and there goes the garbage man, just making noise in the background. How lovely. Whatever, keep it real. So anyways, those are my easy days. Sometimes I'll also sauna as well if I want to do a sauna. I actually find that I feel really good after I sauna. Some people, they just feel totally wiped and completely depleted going into the next day session. I feel really good going into my sessions after I sauna. So thank you, trash man. I think he's literally right outside of my place. So if you guys can't hear this is just going to be annoying for you. If you can hear it, you can be annoyed with me. So either way, you're annoyed. But um, Thursdays are my other quality days. Those are actual mile specific training days. So really high intensity, the lowest volume days. And I have an upper body. Historically, I trained upper body also that day. Now I will also be training full body again on that Thursday. And then Friday has historically been a lower body day for me. I don't think I even want to make it a full body day. Last week I took a rest day that Friday and I absolutely loved it. I did a rest day again that Friday, and then Saturday I did my tempo quality work, and I also did a lower body session, which would now be a full body session. And I loved doing it that way. It was a little bit harder to get everything done just because you've got some fatigue from the weekend. It's a Saturday. You're kind of like, oh my God, I'm doing a double session on a Saturday. But energy wise, it felt the best. So we're going to play around and experiment with that. But Friday, potentially a full body day. Saturday, a quality tempo work. And what the workout's been looking like for Saturday recently is 3 easy miles and then a 2-mile hard cut down. And then we do 4 by 200 meter repeats. Obviously, there's full recovery after the easy miles, after the 2-mile cut down, and after each 200. But we do that and then a cool down mile. That is usually what the Saturday session looks like. And then Sunday is a long run. The long run's supposed to be very, very, very slow. A slow progression, you usually are going to progress still each mile, but slow is the name of the game. It's just time on feet, not accumulating too much fatigue, actually letting the legs just sort of flush out a little bit. This past week, nothing flushed out of my legs. My legs felt dead from start to finish of that. And it's anywhere from 8 to 10 miles. Since I've been getting closer to my mile race, which is in less than 8 weeks now, I'm averaging more closely to 8 miles for the long run. And yeah, that's my training week. So that's kind of how everything looks. And I'm going to go into a little bit as to what I've learned so far, because speed work, again, can look different for so many people depending on what you're training for. My boyfriend's speed work is he's not going more than 40 meters usually at a time in terms of sprinting. So his distances are very short because he's working on max velocity and sprinting very, very quickly for a very short distance. There are some people who are training, in track potentially right now for a 100 or 200 meter dash. So, that's going to also look very different in terms of speed work. I am training for the mile, the 5K. So that kind of speed work is going to still be quick and it's still going to be hard, but the overall times and the rest periods and everything are going to look a little bit different for what I'm doing versus for what somebody with a much more high intensity, low duration event is training for. So my speed work, like for example, the last Thursday we did for our mile specific training, we did 8 400s, and our 8 400s were at mile pace. So we're running them relatively fast, not as fast as a 400 runner, that's for dang sure. But we only got a minute and 15 seconds in between each 400. We did 4 of them. We got full rest, and then we did another grouping of that. So what I've learned so far is that because it is so intense for me, for my endurance training that I've been doing now, you have to scale volume. it is very hard. Let's say you're coming off of a marathon build or even a half marathon build and you're used to, 40 to 60 mile weeks. There's just not really any way to continue to maintain that weekly mileage and have the quality sessions you want to have for your mile training. So because it is super intense, you're going to have to scale your overall weekly volume. I really do not tip too much over 30 miles per week. And if I get a little bit under, I'm not mad about it. Anywhere from like 28 to 32 miles has been my sweet spot for my weekly volume. And for me, since I just started running like 4 months ago, 30 miles is still a lot for me volume wise. So the beginning of my mile training was very, very rough because not only was it starting to get hot, which we'll get into the heat training there, but also I had just gotten comfortable running 30 miles per week. And now I'm, adding in all of this intensity to my training. So I had a couple weeks where I had to go under 20, under 30 miles per week. And I just had to be okay with that. And it made my body feel better, not worse, so you got to scale volume. You cannot be married to your weekly mileage. You really can't. You have to make sure that quality is the metric that intensity is the metric that you're basing really the success of your training week and your sessions off of. I've also learned that stacking those high intensity days with very low intensity days works best for me personally. I think stacking intensity is just a good concept to follow in general in your training. But for me, having those high intensity days and then very, very low intensity days, like basically a rest day, has been very helpful for me. So having it where Tuesday, Monday, I'm doing nothing essentially. I'm resting. I'm going on walks and I'm working, whatever. And then Tuesday, I have that very, very high intensity training session. Wednesday is very low, easy miles. And then Thursday is a very high intensity session. And then Friday is moderate to lower. Saturday is like moderate to harder. And then Sunday is pretty like moderate to lower. But having that fluctuation is really important because if I didn't have that, I genuinely don't think I'd be able to show up for my sessions very well. And also mentally, I think that I would be burning myself out because Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can bring my mental game. Like I can be nervous and get the nervous pre-workout poops and like, have the anxiety about it and get myself geared up to really work and work hard. But having to do that 3-4 days a week, with all my lifts and runs, scatter plotted out a little bit more, I think I would just have a much harder time showing up for my sessions. And I don't think that my times would have been as good. I also don't think I would have been recovered very well because your intensity isn't undulated properly throughout the week. And so you're just showing up kind of half-mast for all your sessions, which you don't want. So stacking those high intensity days, keeping the hard days hard, keeping the easy days easy, really, really important. It's a concept I talk about all the time, but it's one that I'm just going to continue to reiterate because I do find it very important and it's proven to be helpful in my training block thus far. The next one is that lifts can still be hard. You can still keep the lifts intense or you can still keep them very like powerful, but you do also have to scale volume here as well. So for example, in my lifts, I had volume pretty high in terms of exercise selection. I reduced the number of exercises that I did and just kept my main lift and a couple few accessory lifts. I mean, I'm really only doing like 4, maybe 5 exercises in a training session. That's it. And I'm not mad if I only get a couple sets, as opposed to 3 or 4 sets on my accessory stuff because I'm tired. I'm also usually not keeping my main lifts. So like my hard compound lifts, whether it's a front squat or a barbell RDL or a back squat or a box squat or whatever it may be, a deadlift. I'm not keeping those necessarily super high volume. So I'm really like if I'm normally doing 5 working sets, I'm only doing 4, sometimes only 3 working sets. Normally if I'm doing, maybe let's say a set of 5 and then I'm doing back off sets at 7 reps. That's not really happening for me now. Now I'm doing maybe 5 reps and then I'll do back off sets of 5 reps, but I'll be moving the weight quicker, moving a little bit more explosively, or I'll back off and do 3 reps, so it's just, or I'll start at 3 reps and then go back off and do 5 reps. It's, I'm not afraid to reduce volume and I feel a lot better because of it. I just find that my training sessions still get all the intensity that I want out of them, but I am able to recover for my following sessions because the soreness was just so bad that it got to the point where I was showing up for my sessions, but I was so fatigued. I wasn't really showing up for like life or work very well, and that was a problem. That was a serious issue. So, not down for that. Um the next thing would be you won't feel good all the time. That's one thing I learned. You won't feel good all the time, and you'll feel sore most of the time. During speed work, I think that people are shocked by just how hard it feels. The sessions should feel hard. I got really discouraged at the beginning because I'm hitting times, but you're just feeling like you're barely making it every time. And that's because every second does matter in speed work. And it also should feel like you're barely making the time because it's speed work. It's very, very intense. And so, for example, like in the 100-meter dash, right? Milliseconds matter on your time. Well, in the mile, it's like those seconds, half seconds matter in your training. A 36.5 versus a 36-second 200, like that matters. And so understand that it's like your runs aren't going to feel good, they're going to feel hard. You're also always going to continue to want to get better, so the second that you feel like you've accomplished something at a certain pace, you're going to be pushing that pace some more, or you're going to be trying to maintain that pace until race day, that kind of thing. So it's going to feel hard. Also, you're going to be sore because you're doing more intense work, so you're going to be taking a lot of damage. It's also going to be different from a lot of majority of people's previous training styles. It's not something that I have done for a long time. A lot of endurance athletes go into it and are like, I haven't done speed training in a while. And so you're going to feel pretty sore, and that's okay. Your legs are trying to, you're trying to get stronger and more powerful and continue to also handle the volume of everything. So, I also think the not feel good all the time is one that I'd like to reiterate because you're gonna have little like aches and niggles here and there. During my training block, I had a deload that I ended up taking. Was not a built-in deload. I wish I had scheduled one because I would have felt mentally better about it. But when I took a week where I reduced my volume by like 10 miles and I reduced the intensity drastically throughout the week, I felt so much better the next week. Um, because what happens is you just are training hard for an extended period of time, and so things are going to feel good. I had a little bit of calf aching and pain. I had a little bit of quad pain. I was starting to get, I got an adductor strain. These are things that happen. Everything feels good now. I've gotten massage since I took a deload week. I feel great. Make sure that your calories are accounted for and you're still recovering and resting, making sure you're getting good sleep when you're in that state. And oftentimes, if you don't let the wheels totally fall off, like you can sort of correct and fix and make changes, and your body will be just fine and adapt really well. But you're not going to feel good all the time. That's just kind of what happens. I think that I've been able to handle a lot of training, hard training, because of strength training, and I can continue to maintain pretty intense, high volume weeks because of the way that I train and lift and also structure my week. But when I'm going for a goal that is scary, I'm going to be pushing the line a little bit and I'm going to be pushing my body. And so things sometimes just hurt. And side note, now we're going into the heat training stuff. Heat takes you're actually creating more damage in the heat, plus the intensity of the training session also very damaging. So I think that for me, having those two things both increase at once, my intensity went up, plus the heat, it got hotter in Florida as we started mile training. It was just a lot on my body. So that's one thing to note. If you are doing this, if you are a Florida person or just in hot weather, you're in those summer months and you are feeling the heat, just be mindful of the fact that heat's going to create more damage anyways, plus the speed work is going to create more damage. So when it comes to recovery, take it serious. It's very important. That leads into the next thing, which is calories. I'm less hungry, but I need more. So I find that I'm not as hungry after those hard training sessions. I am usually nauseous. Like I'm not feeling good and I'm not feeling like I want calories, but based on the way my schedule is and the way that my work is and also the way that, I want to train and what I need to get done, I do need those calories still. So that's where things like those high calorie, lower satiety foods are actually pretty helpful because so like whether you're getting your calories through liquid, so a carb drink or a protein shake, having a protein bar, having, the little snacky foods like maybe some I get popcorn's pretty like high volume, low calorie. Um, Having a couple cookies, whatever, like having those things that naturally you wouldn't normally grab towards can be helpful when you have absolutely zero appetite and you're just like, I need to slam some calories. Dates are a great way. Dates and peanut butter are like such a power combo when it comes to getting some calories, getting your carbs, fats in, and also it's a very high calorie food for not a lot. So less hungry, definitely need more. It's very easy for me during this block to lose weight. I went to Austin and I don't really weigh myself. I kind of just sort of run and go and do my thing. And sometimes I'll feel lighter and some days I'll feel heavier, and that's just life. But I weighed myself when I was in Austin and I was 127 pounds, which is a pretty much like it's a number that matters 0% to you guys. But relatively, like I would say I sit on average pretty comfortably and still lean about 5 pounds heavier than that. And so for me to weigh myself and be 127 pounds, it was like, oh wow, like this clearly like the amount of how intense I'm training, the effect it's having on my appetite, the amount of heat and sweat, right? The like water I'm losing. So some of that was also probably just like a water situation. I need to make sure that I am fueling properly. So if I start feeling depleted, which I had been that week, I was feeling really depleted. I upped my calories. I probably gained a couple pounds back since, and I'm feeling a lot better. So there is something to like, lighter is not always better, you guys, because um, you want to be able to show up for your training sessions. So that's which is a whole topic for a whole nother day when it comes to like trying to run to lose weight. If your goals are performance related when you're running, you're probably like running to lose weight is not a good thing. You need to either have weight loss be your goal or run performance be your goal, not both. So that's a conversation for another day. I did also want to answer a couple questions. I got a question from Will, shout out Will, and he was saying, do you think you'll run a Spartan race again? And right now my answer is no. I always train Spartan races for fun. I always just did Spartans because my friends did Spartan races and they went to those events. It's definitely something that I would do just to do and have fun with, but I don't think that I would ever like train for a Spartan. I've never trained for a Spartan, to be honest with you. And it's not something that I don't take it seriously enough as a race to take it seriously enough to train for it, if that makes sense. It's not that I don't respect people who do train seriously for it. I have clients that I train for Spartan races. It's just me personally, I do not care enough about the event to train hard for the event. And I think that generally my own strength plus my endurance will get me pretty far in like an age group category anyways when I'm training, especially my age group. My age group is not highly competitive. Actually, it will be this year because I'll be 25 this year, but the 18 to 24 age group is just not a super competitive one for Spartan. And so I've gone into races completely like not just not trained for them, but undertrained in general and podiumed. So that being said, I would do a Spartan race again. I think if I did a Spartan race, I would probably enter age group because might as well compete. I don't think that I would see myself ever training to run a Spartan race or doing a Spartan training block. Because I just don't care. I just don't care. My goals are related to endurance running only. So that being said, mile training is well underway. I'm tired. I'm having so much fun with it though. It's really hard and I love it. I really enjoy it. And I love that I have a group of people that I can do it with. I think after the mile training, most likely my Coach Gary, will probably have me jump in a couple 5Ks and just see what I am capable of in there. And then maybe we'll start a fall/winter build in terms of getting ready for a half marathon. because I might end up doing the tally half or something like that. So we'll see how everything goes. Honestly, life is throwing me a lot of curveballs recently, so I don't even know where I'm going to be like living in the next 6 months, let alone what races I'll be doing. But I guarantee you that no matter where I am or what I'm doing, I will be training. That is a for sure. That is a for certain. So I think that's it for today, you guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I don't know if these things are helpful. I hope they're pretty helpful in terms of just like, my take on speed training so that you can have some, helpful input going into your speed training, and also just leave in the comments what if you've done speed training, like have you gotten the same observations? Have you noticed the same things? Are you noticing anything different? Are you experiencing something different? I want to know this stuff. So this is an episode where it's like, please do engage in the comments or DM me, or if you have my number, text me. Let's talk about it, because I think speed training is something that is not getting enough love in the endurance space, and I think it's very important to do. And it's hard to do, but that's okay, because that's the point. We do hard things. That being said, like, subscribe, comment. If you have any questions on anything endurance training related, DM me on my Instagram. Abigail.crow is my Instagram, or you can message me on my business Instagram. I respond much slower, which is Alchemical Training. And if you are interested in any kind of programming or coaching, I do offer one-on-one online coaching. I also do offer one-time purchase programs, and I am working very hard on getting an app set up, or getting myself onto an app, Train Heroic, where you guys will be able to train with me, do my training. It'll literally be all of my lifts. It'll be my run plan, and it'll be the way that I eat, with a little bit of with a grocery list and everything, and a macro calculator, so that you can follow along with what I'm doing. I will probably be a few weeks ahead, just because any adjustments or anything that I make to my training, you guys will have the adjusted training. So you'll basically be doing my training, but better. And so you'll be able to follow along with me, and it'll be really fun, so that you guys can also do awesome and be badass with your speed work and endurance stuff and all kinds of goodness. So those are things that are in the works, but that's it. I'm rambling. I'll see you guys next week for another episode, and peace out.